guys, it's Brandon.
And this is Sabrina, and welcome to the Someone Called BS podcast, where we discuss navigating marriage, entrepreneurship, and owning our own businesses while also trying to do this thing called life together. Thanks for joining us here and listening to our literal BS.
Oh, you're gonna need to edit that out.
Ugh, come on.
Trick two. Is there a trick to make it run a lot better, but for the cheaper?
Seriously, don't say it like that.
Let's get it.
Hi, guys.
Hey, what's up?
Welcome to episode 4.
Oh, God.
You have new glasses on.
Yeah.
So if you're watching,
Just
you get
got
to
these.
see Brandon's new fit. He has some...
Sick.
You bought some Oakleys just specifically for the podcast, I already know.
No, these are green. I don't have a green pair of sunglasses, so kind of sick.
What about your hat?
I got this at the F1 race, and I like it. I'm not a McLaren fan, but I do want to buy a McLaren, so when I put it on, I feel like I'm one step closer to having one in my driveway.
What's the timeline on that? Like, what is your goal?
5 years, max.
Okay.
Max
Just curious.
5 years. I did already send an email to McLaren of Dallas because I think it takes, like, if you order one, I think it takes 2 years to be produced because they're all built in England and then shipped over. So
okay. What model do you want?
I don't know. I mean, I really want the 765 LT, but those are going for, like, well, number one, if you haven't already bought McLarens in the past, chances are you're not going to get an allocation to buy one off the showroom floor. So you have to buy it, like, from a private seller. And right now, those cars typically, like, you can build one for like $360 to maybe $390. But right now on the market, they're going for like I've seen them for like $425 to like $480. And like, that's above my pay grade currently. Yeah. So I'm going to have to talk to my boss, tell him to bump my financial situation up so I can get one.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you make the big bucks soon.
Trying
on you.
Yeah.
Well, what are we going to talk about today? Did you bring any content ideas to the show, to our podcast show?
No.
Perfect.
I'm not the guy for that.
Well,
I know we have a couple questions that people had asked. I know we're going to do a live tequila tasting of this Alma del Jaguar.
Yeah, so why don't we start with that then?
Okay.
Tell everyone about your friend and where that came from, I guess.
So this is actually a customer of ours, Elise Jones, and she just switched. She was working in the bourbon market, and now she's working with tequila. So she said, hey, would you guys do a live tasting of this new tequila that I'm working with on your podcast? And I tried to tell her we are not famous, and we have like maybe, I don't know, 26 people that listen to us. 26 people subscribed. We don't know how many actually listen.
On YouTube, yeah.
Yeah. So
I think,
we don't know how many actually people listen, but she said, you know what? This tequila distillery that I'm working with started small too, so I believe in you guys. So thank you, Elise.
Yes, thank you. She's very kind. She has brought us multiple bottles of whiskey.
Yeah, I have some back here too.
The tequila that she brought, I think it was a Reposado. That one is like a sipper tequila. We drank all of that, but it was really good. Okay, so this is Alma del Jaguar
Blanco.
Tequila Blanco. So this one, I think Blanco is good for like mixing.
Yeah, I believe so.
So you've made us some cocktails.
Yeah.
I asked for a Topo Chico lime.
It's in that one.
Shoot, I've already had too much. This is my wine from tonight. We're behind yet again on our podcasting, so we're actually recording this on our Halloween night. So we just finished giving out candy, and I was drinking wine out
mine's good
in the truck. So this one is the tequila mixed with Topo Chico lime.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much tequila you poured in here, but
good amount.
that is a good amount, but it's smooth.
Yeah.
I like it.
I put mine with some blood orange.
Blood orange soda. Let's try this.
It's pretty tasty in there.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I dig it. So thank you, Elise.
Yes, thank you. I don't know how much this goes for. We probably should have done our research on that, but
I think it's about $60.
Yeah, Alma del Jaguar. In case anyone is watching, I will show you the bottle. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, super cool.
So thank you, Elise. That is awesome. We will definitely drink it.
And thank you for your continued support as a customer.
Yes.
She drives all the way from Spring Branch to bring us her vehicles. So
that is always very flattering to me because there's so many other shops.
Yeah, I mean, she's got to pass like about 57 at least between there and where we're at. And she chooses to bring her truck for simple preventative maintenance, like oil changes, fuel filters. We've done some Banks exhaust for her, cold air intake situation. So, yeah, thank you.
Yes,
that's
thank
awesome.
you. That is awesome. You got to hook her up with like a free oil change or something.
Yeah. I keep her stocked with freshies and whatnot.
Cool. Well, speaking of customers, I think we had a few comments and questions that I wanted to read from our previous episode. So why don't we start? I'll start with comments. Okay, so someone said, Sabrina, team tips have really opened my eyes. I'm not a business owner, but I'm the mentor / trainer of 2 tech apprentices.
Oh,
recently, well, you're in my space.
Oh, okay.
Recently, I've run into issues with production, setting the tasks and expectations regarding skill level. Great advice. Great podcast. Keep it up. Thank you, Albert. I'm glad that was helpful for some of you. I think running an effective team is really hard sometimes, and so it can be just interesting to hear different perspectives, I think. Do you have any advice for someone that is a mentor of 2 tech apprentices in particular, since that's your field?
I mean, honestly, I do tough love. I think I'm pretty good about showing people, definitely when you have somebody that's an apprentice to you, especially if you are kind of being looked at as the teacher, you want to do a healthy amount of showing them what to do, but also you don't want to do it for them. So you want to actually give them leeway, let them fail, let them make mistakes. You can ask every single one of my guys. I let them screw stuff up. I let them fail. I don't coax them into asking questions. I would much rather see how their brain works and see how they go about doing things so I can better help them in the future. Like, if I see them fail at something, I kind of can see cognitively how they think, how their brain works. Obviously, nothing safety related or, something that would cost me a whole buttload of money to replace, but I'll let them if I see them doing something, especially there's sometimes where I'll tell the guys like, hey, this is the way I would do it. And then I see them not doing it the way that I would do it. I just leave them to it. I'm like, okay, well, they must not have been comfortable with how I told them that I do things. And that's the beauty about working in the field we work in, there's many different ways to get the same result. So the way that I do things might not be the way that works for other technicians in the shop. Matter of fact, you can ask Matt or Brian, the other two heavy line guys. They adamantly do not do things like I do. Brian is a big magnetic dish dude. So when he takes stuff apart, he like pulls it apart and puts it all in a magnetic dish. And I'm like, I can't do that.
You gotta hold the mic closer.
I can't do that. It doesn't work for me. If I were to do that, I would never be able to reassemble something. When I take stuff apart, I take it apart in sections and I leave like, okay, so I've got, say I'm doing injectors and the EGR has to come off. So I'll take the EGR off. I've got all my EGR bolts in a little sectioned place next to the EGR. Okay, so these are all EGR bolts. These are all injector bolts. These are intake bolts. And that's just how I do it. So I give my guys pointers. If I walk by and I see them doing something, I'm like, oh, hey, just like a little tech tip from me. This is the way I would go about doing that. And if they choose to take that tip, well, awesome. If they don't, hey, cool. They'll probably get to the same result. They just might say, damn, that sucked. And then the next time they'll do it the way I said, and they'll be like, damn, I shaved 47 minutes off that job.
Yeah.
Which in the field that we work in, I feel like everybody has to be comfortable with the way they do things and their processes. So the very first time anybody does something, I tell them, hey, look, here's the instructions. I'm not going to help you at all. Read the instructions and do it by the instructions. Because that is always the most long and drawn out way to do something is by the instructions. Because they give those instructions as if a consumer is going to get that and do it in their garage at their house. So that will always take you the absolute longest. So, and that's the way I do things too. If I don't know how to do something and I'm doing it for the first time, I will read the instructions. And then once I do it that way, I'm like, well, shit, I could have done this and this and this and saved like, I don't know, 17 steps and God knows how many minutes. So then I make my own shortcuts. So
yeah, you have to. I feel like people in any field have to make mistakes to learn.
Yeah.
So you just allow room to make those mistakes and then learn how they're going to do it their way.
I give them healthy leash to let them make their own mistakes and then, allow them to realize their mistakes and then I help them fix the mistakes.
Yeah. I do the same thing, I think, with my girls at my work is like, I mean, I do things a certain way, but I'll tell them how I do it. And then I say, hey, I would try it my way. And then as you learn, if you think that something else would work better for the way that your brain operates, because I've learned not everyone's like super organized or not everyone likes to document notes electronically. They prefer paper, things like that. So I think allowing people the room to figure out how to do things their way is important too, as long as they're getting the right results.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the F-bomb stamp of approval has to go on everything. So when it leaves the shop, it has to be perfect. So I don't care how the result was obtained. I just want the result to be constant. So I don't care if I do it, if Matt does it, if Brian does it, if DJ BJ does it, Napoleon does it, doesn't matter.
The standard is still the same.
It's going to be the same perfect job, no matter which technician does it. Now, they're all going to do it in their own individual way, and that's what makes us human beings and not an assembly line of robots. So, and that's okay. But yeah, I mean, my advice would be to don't what's the word when you
micromanage?
No. Like when moms have little baby children and they like helicopter parent.
Yeah.
Don't helicopter parent your apprentice. Like have faith in them, Like, pump them up, get them hyped, and, give them tips, but don't do it for them. Give them a healthy leash and say, "Hey, look, man, you got this shit." Like,
Yeah.
you can definitely do this. Like, obviously, I've worked in the field long enough to where I'm very, very confident with my craft. No matter what it is, I feel like I can do it. And I want my guys to feel the same way. Like, there's nothing I do that they couldn't do. It's just I've been doing stuff in this field since I was 13 years old. So
Yeah.
I have a head start, obviously, a huge head start on some of the guys there. So yeah, that would be my tip for that.
Perfect. Okay, so another comment I got personally was, so hey, I wanted you to know, teacher me, that I noticed no like or in your talk. So well spoken. As a public speaker, I catch myself saying okay or quite a bit, and know it's usually just filter and unnecessary. But they are habits that are very hard to break. Very proud of you and Brandon. I wish you continued success. That was from my old coach in middle school, Coach Arnold.
Yeah.
He's actually purchased like F-bomb gear from us. He doesn't live here anymore, but thank you very much, Coach Arnold.
You. He's always very active, like on my social media, on my Facebook, commenting on stuff. And
I
that's
am
super
sure
cool.
that I do say more than I realize, but I actually have really tried in recent years to limit that vocabulary just as a leader, since we're on that topic, because I think that the less frequently you say filler words, the more confident you come across. So I've really tried, even when, like, by speaking to my bosses or clients or my team, I come across more confident if I don't say those filler words. And so it's really something you have to work on, I think, if you're not already good at that. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
I'm not good at that. So what I try to do is, see, there's one right there. So when I was a little baby child and I would get in trouble, my mom would put me in the corner and make me read the Webster's dictionary. So this is a little known fact, but I've got some big words in the old vocab vault.
Like what?
I don't know. Like, I can't think of them on the spot, but I've got some big ones in there.
Okay.
So
I'll trust it.
In conversation, I'll throw those out there. So I might say like and but I'll throw out some vocab words.
I mean,
and
for
people
the rest
will
of
just
this,
be like,
yeah,
what?
You're so smart.
Yeah, exactly.
For the rest of this podcast, I'll be very self-conscious about how many times I say like and but yeah, usually I don't notice, so I'm not sure how many times I say it, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, see.
No.
I feel like I say it a lot. Maybe I just didn't say it in the part that he listened to, but either way, I will take the compliment. Okay. See, here it goes again.
Yeah.
Now I'm like self-conscious about it.
The whole thing.
Hey guys, you definitely don't suck.
Oh, sick.
Thank you. Solid advice all around. I've been listening while working my night job to help pass the time. I have a couple questions. When did you decide you wanted to be a business owner? Was it always something you thought about, or did it sort of happen out of the blue? That's his first kind of question.
Okay.
Do you recommend any books or information sources for good business advice? And what are your thoughts on using debt to grow a business, like credit cards or loans? So I know Brandon, don't even say it. I'll just start with a book recommendation first. So I do have a book that I really have been enjoying. I'm actually about to start a book club with my girls at work about, or specifically on this book, because I think it's a really good, like, team-focused book. But I really love Simon Sinek. I say Sinek, I think it's Sinek maybe. But Simon, you can follow him on like Instagram or TikTok. He has really solid business advice, and I really like and agree with most of everything that he says. Actually, don't think that I've heard anything that I don't agree with, but the book that he wrote called The Infinite Game is really, really good. I've been listening to it while I drive to work, but I also have the hard copy. I purchased it for all of my girls at work, and we're going to start doing like a book club slash activity study session on the book itself. But he talks about leadership and the mindset behind how you run your business. And I think actually it's really cool. You should probably listen to it, honestly. It gives you a lot of good advice on, and I'm talking to Brandon when I say you, but it gives a lot of good advice on like finite leadership versus infinite leadership and what that means for your business. So, like, finite leadership has finite games, for instance, have an end goal. They have set rules, they have set players. It's kind of like an NFL game. Like, the team has certain players, you know who they are, there's certain rules in football, and that once they start playing, there's like an end result, right? Like someone's going to lose and someone's going to win. Well, an infinite game is kind of like an ever-changing game. Like there's not really an end point to the game. You don't know who all the players are. You don't know all the rules. You don't know the structure always. You're kind of like constantly changing, figuring things out. There's not really an end result. And so that's really what he's focusing on in the book, is like running a business is like running an infinite game of like trying to figure it out. Employees are changing, policies are changing, what you're doing with your business is changing, and you have to have that mindset if you want to survive. So I think like he mentions in his book, he mentions in his book that since like the 1940s or 1950s, I believe the success rate of like big corporation businesses has dropped like 40%. And so these businesses that used to be so financially successful have kind of dropped off the face of the planet. Like Blockbuster, for instance. Like Blockbuster was the thing. Like I remember going to Blockbuster and renting movies, and that was the only place that offered movies. Like you didn't get them through Redbox or online. But they had kind of this finite game of, okay, this is what we do and we're doing it well, and we're just going to keep doing it and doing it. And they didn't really keep up with, oh, well,
continuing education.
Yeah, like times are changing. I have to start offering more than just DVD rentals for my business to survive, because there's technology coming out and there's this and that, and culture is changing. And so
I mean, that would be like us saying, oh, hey, we're never going to learn about electric vehicles.
Like,
we have to. Whether we like it or not, we have to. So you have to always evolve. So that's good, solid advice. I'll agree to that.
And I think also like he talks a lot about leadership. I think that's the basis of his advice stems from becoming a really great leader, just in overall in all of his messages. And so in this book in particular, it's talking about really coaching your team to understand your mindset. And it's not about like hitting quarterly sales goals. It's not about like having a record month. It's long term. Like we understand there's going to be ebbs and flows. And obviously that's hard for small business. But the more important part of it is like seeing into the future long term and having the mindset of like, we're not going to fail. We're going to evolve and be better and better and better. And so essentially that's the whole basis of his book, is like how to become a really great leader with that infinite mindset to lead your team. And so if you're interested in like learning how to be a better leader, it's a really good book.
Okay.
Do you have any book recommendations?
No.
Proud of you for not mentioning the only book you've ever read.
That's not the only book I've ever read. So I've read Harry Potter, all of them, Lord of the Rings, all of them, back in my straight A days.
The
But
dictionary.
the dictionary, back in my disciplinary days, encyclopedias, stuff like that. I do not that I don't, it's, it,
We'll just move on to your question.
it's just, I don't particularly read books, no.
Okay,
I
so
probably would, but I just don't have time. Honestly, what I do is I study, and in my field, like I have an app on my phone for ASC test questions.
that's not a book.
No, but I'm saying like that's what I do, and
Okay.
I read
So
magazines.
when did you decide you wanted to be business owners, and was it always something you thought about?
I didn't. You made me do it, literally.
I really did make him do it. So, well, I'm not going to say I made you do it.
Oh, literally, she forced me to do it
No, I think
physically.
We talked about it a little bit in our first podcast. Like, I always felt like, even when I was younger, I've never had the mindset. Like, I was thinking about this today. When I was in college, I really had no choice, but I honestly didn't really care at the time either. I think now it's different because, like, I look back and I'm like, oh, that would have been fun to have like a real college experience, because I really didn't. I think I went to college to kind of prove a point to my parents. Well, not prove a point to my parents, prove a point to myself, because I was a first generation college student, like in my immediate family. And so I really wanted to break a lot of cycles that were from my childhood. And I guess I did that to kind of prove to myself that I could. And so I did. But all throughout college, like, I worked 2 jobs. Like, I didn't have time to like go out and party or like make lifelong friends. I really didn't make a whole lot of friends in college. I mean, I had like acquaintances, but what?
There was no hoe phase allowed in her college. I did not allow that shit.
Like, you're my boss. Anyway, I was in a committed relationship, but that doesn't stop people from having fun. So, at the end of the day, long story short, I always felt like I wanted to work for more and more and more. And I feel like that's the same mentality that I still have. Is like, I guess it's like a blessing and a curse, because I don't know if I'll ever feel satisfied with, not that I'm not grateful for what we have, but just I feel like we haven't reached our full potential. Like, I feel like I still have so much potential.
Oh, yeah, not even close.
And so I don't know if that'll ever like kind of go away, that feeling of like not reaching your full potential yet, but I just feel like I'm not there yet. And so I think learning from my mentors in business, I just really felt like we could do it. And so I really pushed Brandon to purchase F-Bomb and start this journey, which we're about to start another one. But yeah, I just think, I don't know, I just always felt like we were meant to be our own bosses at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've touched on this before. I feel like as an employee, I did not really work at too many places, to be honest with you. When I graduated, while I was going to high school, I worked for Charlie Earnhardt. He gave me the opportunity to come in and be an apprentice and a helper to him in his shop on WW White, which is actually still there. Earnhardt and Sons Automotive. It's right across from Big Lou's Pizza.
Are you related to them, the Earnhardts?
Somehow, some way, yes. I'm not really positive on the family tree on that, because it's like on the
On your fake dad's side?
fake dad side. But yes, he gave me the opportunity, gave me the chance, gave me my start, and from there, when I went to UTI and was doing my technical training there in Houston, I worked at National Tire and Battery as a tire bitch boy, but I was the baddest motherfucker in that joint. And you can ask RIP, but
Aw. Who?
Tommy, the Green Power Ranger,
Tommy? He's dead?
yeah, but I worked on his Hummer.
When did he die?
It was a while back. Jason Frank, he came in there to the Tascasita location and hooked him up with some tires on his H2.
Don't you have a friend named Tommy that talks to us now? Is that a different Tommy?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Jesus
sorry.
Christ.
R.I.P. Tommy from NTB.
No, not from NTB.
Oh, well, you said. I thought you said
She's had, obviously, at least this tequila smacks.
I thought you
Because
said he could vouch for you being like the baddest tire man of all time.
he can. He could if he was still alive.
Well,
Anyway, I worked there. Then when I came back, I worked at Kep Chevrolet in Lavernia. And then I worked at F-Bomb. That's all I've ever worked at.
yeah.
And each one of those places, I put 187% effort into. So at the end of the day, especially working for F-Bomb and working for Chet, like, literally there's nothing I wouldn't have done for him or the company. There was so many times that I was there staying late, coming in early, without him having to ask. It just kind of was a no-brainer when it came time, and she brought up, like, hey, why don't, instead of doing that for someone else, why don't we do this for ourselves? Because you're already basically living there. You've got so much of your time and effort involved there, and you care so much about the business and the work that goes out the door, and you jump the other guy's ass to make sure the work is good and that F-Bomb's name grows and people are proud of what F-Bomb is and everything like that. We should get involved on the side of ownership. So we did. I don't think I ever really thought about it before then. I just woke up thinking, hey, I want to be the best version that I can be of myself today. It's always me versus me, no matter what. At the end of the day, it's not the obstacles that are in front of me, it's me versus me. And that's the hardest person you'll ever have to beat is yourself and your own mindset and your own mentality. And once you do that, really, and there's nothing that can stop you. I highly recommend, if you've never talked to a therapist, do so, because you can learn a lot about yourself and why you think the way you do and how to change the way you think. And I think that really helps.
Shout out Beth.
Shout out Beth. So
she literally, I think she changed both of our lives for the better.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think so. We did marriage therapy, which is a totally different subject that we can get into one day, but we were having issues in our marriage, and so we decided, why not do marriage therapy? And I've always been a big proponent of therapy. I did it before, personally, but Brandon was kind of against it. He wasn't really, he doesn't like talking about his feelings like every other man on the planet, I feel like. But I definitely think that was the best thing we've ever done, just personally and for our relationship.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
I think it just brings a different perspective, and you have to make sure you get the right therapist though, because I've had therapists before and nothing came close to our progress and the information that I got from our therapist Beth. And I think it's just because we clicked with her and we connected, but she also is such a great therapist. She's not going to tell you what you want to hear. She holds you accountable for a lot of shit. She makes you take personal responsibility for everything that happens to you. And I think that that's really important. And it's definitely something that people forget is Like, I hate the victim mentality. I've never been a victim, but I also I remember talking to her even about like personal relationships outside of us. Like, I'd be like, oh, well, they made me feel this way and she did this to me or, he did this. And she was quick to like put me in my place and be like, no, she didn't do that to you. You allowed it to happen. Or he didn't do that to you. You allowed it to happen. And so, while yes, people take part in like their side of the relationship and how it impacts your relationship, you also allow certain things to happen over and over again, and you kind of teach people how to treat you, for as cliche as that sounds. But anyway, that's like a whole different topic.
Yeah, off track.
Sorry, ADD. But definitely recommend marriage counseling or like even individual therapy too. It helps you learn a lot about yourself, and sometimes your insurance will cover it too if that's like a concern. So, yeah. Okay. Other question.
Next.
What are your thoughts on using debt to grow a business? Like credit cards or loans?
I love it. I absolutely love it. So I may not read books or, anything like that, but I do listen to a lot of people. I listen to a lot of like Brad Lee. I really like that guy. I think he's funny. I think he is a pretty straight shooter. He doesn't really, no risk, no reward. So there's two generalized ways I think that people live their life. There's the Dave Ramsey way.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
I am not a Dave Ramsey fan. I think it's going to sound terrible, but I think Dave Ramsey is for people who want to stay stagnant. Like paying off.
It's a safe way to look at your life.
But you will never, you're never going to do incredible, great, amazing things doing that way. You can't save yourself to being rich. I'm sorry. You can't. Like, there is no way that you can save yourself into being rich. You're going to have to take on debt. You're going to have to take on risk. It's going to be scary. You're going to,
Well, yeah. I mean, unless you come from wealth.
yeah. If you've got generational wealth, like being passed down, well, sure. Okay. Yeah. I guess you could just sit on that. But like, for the majority of the people that are going to listen and hear this podcast, I truly believe you cannot save your way into being wealthy. You could save yourself into being comfortable, I would say, living like a comfortable life, but you're not getting a McLaren 765 LT in your driveway by not taking on debt and getting risky with it. So I have zero problem with it. I am young. At the end of the day, we do use debt. We pay for almost every single thing with a credit card because credit card accrues, I believe is the correct word, points. And we utilize those points for travel. We use it for hotel stays. We use it at the end of the year for our Christmas party.
A cruise.
Oh, a cruise. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
My brain takes a minute to process things, but yeah, it's a cruise.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of it.
You should know that if you studied the dictionary, though.
I was thinking of that. I think I pronounced it wrong.
Accrues
Accrues
is what you said.
Cruise.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Proceed.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of it. I think obviously you have to be cautious about it. You can't get buck wild with it, but yeah, I like to utilize the bank's money as much as I can and try to keep money in the business, if that makes sense. So, yeah. Big fan of credit cards. We have a Chase Ink card and we have a Chase Ink Unlimited. And also, I've been told by people that run businesses that I know that the Capital One Spark card is a really great points card. I am just partial to Chase because we bank with Chase. Our business is banking with Chase. So.
And the Amex card.
Yeah, and the Amex card. I don't have one yet, but I plan on getting one.
Yeah. I think my mindset definitely changed after we owned our business, because before owning a business, I was totally against credit card debt at all. I hated having a balance on anything. If I used a credit card, I would make sure to like pay it off and like never have a balance on it. And I think personally that's a good tip, but in business, like it's really honestly impossible, at least it's been for us in this economy, to kind of like grow your business without taking on debt. And so, yeah, you've taught me a lot about that. I feel like you've given good advice on like leveraging loans as like a way to like almost not like take income, but loans are like tax-free money versus.
Yeah, so Rich Dad Poor Dad. I've never read the book, but I've listened to excerpts on it, and that dude literally is, I don't even know how rich he is, a gazillionaire.
What is Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Rich Dad Poor Dad, he owns like 280 some odd properties. So he buys a property and leverages the equity on that property to buy another property. So he's just constantly using equity to purchase more property. And when you do that, you're not really showing that as income. You're showing it as debt, because you've got millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of these building notes, but the tenants in the building are making the payments. So literally the dude's rich off of utilizing debt to not pay taxes. After our first year in business, we got absolutely smacked right in the face with the biggest tax bill I've ever seen, because our first year in business, we did try to hold on to as much money as possible, not knowing, we had no idea that they not only like take my income and her income that she makes, and then they take everything that's sitting in the business, and they were like, oh yeah, well shit, y'all got a lot of money, so pay up, sucker.
Yeah, we were very scared to spend money our first year in business, so we really didn't. And so we didn't have a lot of write-offs. But yeah, I mean, we're not by any means tax professionals or
please.
like CPAs. I'm not even a financial advisor, even though I work for a wealth management firm. I just do operational stuff. So don't listen to us.
Yeah, we're not financial experts by any means. But if you're asking my opinion, yes, I like credit cards. I don't have a problem with debt. I'm not stupid about it. Obviously, I only take on debt that I know that we can pay for. There's always a managed plan in my mind on that. So I would never just, if I was absolutely stupid about it, like I've got the credit score, I could go and order the McLaren today and yeah, it'd be fine. But I know in 2 years, I probably won't be at the point where I could comfortably pay for it. So I'm not going to.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be smart about it, but like, don't be afraid to take out a line of credit to help build your business.
Yeah. I mean,
you can control the monthly payment by how much you put on that line of credit. Mm-hmm. So as you kind of grow, then you know like what your income is versus what you're spending, kind of thing.
Yeah, and explore your options too. There's credit cards. So that's one way to do it, which again I like because of the points. We've gotten a lot of hotel stays. All of our Christmas parties at the end of the year, where you see our baller Christmas parties, and you're like, oh shit, I want to work for F-Bomb because they put everybody in hotel rooms and they go out to dinner, and that's all paid for by points. And it's like I tell her, it's money we have to spend anyway, because we have to buy parts. We have to buy, hundreds of thousands of dollars of parts a month. Mm-hmm. So it's money we would have to, if we're not using a credit card, it's going to come from the bank account anyway. So it's better to put it on a credit card and then pay the monthly statement, because you get points off that. So yeah.
And you can even use the credit card points. As far as I know, I've never been told otherwise. You can use the credit card points personally too. So like on our business account, we accumulate credit card points. If we want to take a personal trip, as long as we're not paying for our personal trip with the business money, we're just using the points accumulated, then that's a good way to kind of treat yourself after your long year of running ragged.
Yeah.
So,
and
anyway.
even that, we're gonna talk about business on that vacation. So,
Yeah.
guess what? Partial part of that trip's getting written off, baby. So, yeah, I have no problem with debt.
Oh my god.
I will say, as far as reading books and things like that, and I think the question was
What?
about advice.
Oh yeah. Do you recommend any books or informational sources for good business advice?
Every single informational source that I've got for business advice has been another business owner who's been doing it longer and better than me.
Yeah, networking and hanging out with people that are in a similar situation or that have owned a business for longer than you, I think is really good. Like we had dinner with friends this weekend and all of them are business owners. And so I think it's really nice to not even just like talk about business, but just you can relate with people more that are in a similar situation.
Well, you can relate, but you can also, bounce ideas off of, especially if you happen to find somebody in your same field. I talk to other shop owners all the time. Ryan Strataman with Strataman Automotive, talk to him quite a bit. Ross with Lion Diesel, talk to him quite a bit. Talk to the guys at TSD quite a bit. So yeah, definitely. Honestly, her boss Dana, I talked to him just this week. Was asking him about effective ways to scale a business, and he's literally the richest dude that I know in my phone. Like, that dude makes bank. So before we purchased the business, I actually sat down with him.
Yeah.
And we took notes, just like 3 pages in a journal on notes, because I valued his advice so much. Because literally, I don't know if he ever is going to listen to this. Dude was a water skier at SeaWorld. Literally was a water skier at SeaWorld. I'm not making this up.
No, he traveled all over the world. Like he lived in Japan. Him and his brother lived in Japan. Like they water skied. They were professional athletes.
But making 55, 60 grand a year is what he was making. And now I don't even know what his net worth is, but
he's been very successful. He's very smart with business. And
multi-million, for
he's
sure.
definitely like my mentor in life. So if he hears this, that's probably the nicest thing I've ever said to him.
Literally.
He gets to deal with my attitude at work all the time.
Yeah. So I'm a big believer in that. Network. Your net worth is going to be equal to who you network with. So if you sit around and talk to people who are negative Nancy's, like, oh man, I'm never gonna make it in life. I never catch a break, and life is so tough. Well, it's gonna be very hard for you to grow and do great things with those people surrounding you. And I'm sorry, even if it's family, and that's how your family is, break free of that. Start networking, start talking to people, start having dinner with people who are doing things, who are pushing themselves.
Yeah, even if it's just dinner and drinks or whatever, like you don't have to put pressure on it. Just network and make friends with other people that are just like you, that are out trying to build a business. And
don't be scared to ask questions. I mean, worst they can do is just say no or not answer you. I ask questions all the time. I follow a couple guys on TikTok, Kevin Pack and Kevin Coons. I ask questions all the time, and the worst they can do is sometimes they answer them, sometimes they don't. So
yeah,
it's okay. But I mean,
I think what you'll find too is like what I find comfort in is, even though like you think that you're kind of alone in what you're struggling with your business, what you find is that most people are also facing the same struggles. And so just not feeling alone in that as a small business owner, or even like a some sort of leader, or in management, or whatever your role is, like finding people that you can relate to is really important, because that's all you want, is the comfortability of like knowing that you're not alone, I think. So yeah. So
Yep.
make friends.
Make friends, yeah. And definitely, like I say, try to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to shake more hands, especially being a business owner. Don't feel like, at least I used to walk into rooms and kind of shrink myself down and not want to talk to people. But now as a business owner, like, I go into a room and I want people's eyes on me. Like, I want to shake the hands. I want to introduce myself to people. I want to let them know who we are, where we're located, what we do, what we're capable of, because you never know. I mean, the next hand you shake, like, what if you were to quit? What if you were to be like, oh man, I'm too tired. There's a few more people in here, but I just don't feel like talking to them. What if one of those people that you talk to could have set you up with, like, let's say in my case, what if he was a business owner and I would have talked to him and shook his hand and let him know, hey, we do fleet companies. And he would have said, you know what? Hey, I've got a fleet of 55 trucks and I want to bring you one every single week.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how valuable that is? Like, so don't be afraid to put yourself out there, network, meet new people,
Yeah.
shake hands. And even if it's somebody, I mean, it wasn't the easiest thing to sit down with her boss, who's already a multimillionaire, and ask him, like, hey, I'm thinking about running a business. Do you have any tips for me? Like, but don't be scared of it. It was stupid of me to be timid to sit down and ask him, because chances are anybody that's a business owner and that is doing half-ass decent, they are going to be probably as down to earth. Like, you could come up and talk to me and be Joe Blow, and I'm not going to blow you off like, oh, I'm a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm doing things, I'm going places. Like, I'll sit and have a conversation with you. Ask me anything you want, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone that's successful roots for other people's success.
Oh,
They're
for
not
sure.
they're not intimidated by it, or they don't, make fun of you for
Yeah.
trying to do better. I think that people that are truly successful just want to see other people succeed. So,
For sure.
I also think, wait, I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something really important.
Oh boy.
Well,
Don't let the haters get to you.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be haters no matter what field you're in, no matter what you're doing, no matter what your business is. There will be people that you cannot please. No matter how good you're doing, you do everything perfect, you've got all the processes in line, you're just not going to see eye to eye with some people. It happens. And it's okay. So don't let that bring you down. I am horrible at that. I will let one shitty customer ruin my day, even if I know that in my mind I just fired that customer. They will need me long before I need them.
Yeah.
Don't let a bad customer ruin your day.
I think you should try to listen to that advice.
I do. I try to work on it, but that is good advice. So I
Yeah.
will repeat it on our podcast.
Yes, it is very good advice. I think just having confidence to talk to people is really important, even if you have to fake it. So, yeah, that was solid advice.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
think so. Not bad.
We're at 53 minutes. I don't know if y'all like, for
Nah.
all of our listeners, I actually like long podcasts because I have to drive a lot. So I like to listen to long podcasts, but I don't know what the average time frame is for a podcast. I was reading like 30 to 60 minutes. But I'm curious to know, like, how long you guys.
Oh, they've turned this shit off.
Yeah.
They made it to minute 17 and they were like, all right, they're done with the tequila tasting. This shit's turn this shit off.
Yeah. So anyway, if you have preferences on that, let us know for sure, because I'm curious. And as you can see, we've moved, if you are watching, we've moved our studio because Brandon still won't let me build my own, but we have moved it to the background of Brandon's alcohol cabinet because I can actually sit in a chair and it's a little more comfortable. But yeah, you get a good view of all of our...
Yeah, so if you ever want to come over for some live, life advice with Brandon Brown, I have a quite extensive bourbon collection.
You really do.
So
it's a little over the top, but
that's nothing in comparison to Chet's, but it's pretty top notch, I will say. There's some good nuggets in that cabinet. So if you ever want to come over, kick some back, feel free. Just let me know.
All right. We will talk to y'all next week.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in with us. Please like, comment, and subscribe with us on YouTube, and listen to us on Spotify and wherever else you stream podcasts. Email us for topics and conversations that you'd like to hear next at info@someonecalledbs.com.